Welcome to the 2-Month Review, the weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter Books and 3%, in which we take one giant book, break it down section by section, bit by bit, talk about it, analyze it, have fun, make jokes. This season, we are going over Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman, the 1,000-page runner-up for the Man Booker Prize. And I'm Chad Post from Open Letter Books, joined as always by Brian Wood, author of Joytime Killbox.
Hi, Chad. Thank you for having me on again. This is such a treat and a pleasure, and I'm honored.
I feel like,
and I sincerely mean all of that.
So we're Alta, the American Literary Translators Association conference starts officially tomorrow. People are already in town for it last night and are setting up things today. And we're on a panel together. And I think the basic purpose of you coming on the panel about Open Letter Books is to complain about how I make you read all these things.
Sure. I actually wanted to ask you about Alta because, I mean, I figure there's a lot of folks that are probably interested in translation that listen to this. Why is Alta?
I think the correct phrasing of that is why are Alta. You always have to make it like a plural. Like that's why it's funnier. Like why are Trump?
Exactly.
So Alta came into existence 42 years ago as a way for translators, especially when the field was like relatively small group of literary translators, could get together in a hotel and exchange ideas and experiences and anecdotally like help each other out in terms of like anything from like, I'm having problems with this sort of language to like, how do you do, what's a contract look like? And so over time it's a member organization that's grown quite substantially. And it used to be at the University of Texas at Dallas. It left there 6 years ago. So something like that. And maybe even 7, but they left there and became sort of independent and now have reassociated with the University of Arizona. So they're based there and they have mentorships. They have resources online about how to deal with contracts, to like how you should promote your book, to any number of different things. There's a lot of like a listserv for people to interact with each other and find help or whatever sort of help you might need. And then the conference is the big kind of keystone event of the year. They expect about 500 people to be coming that are registered for the conference this year here in Rochester, which will make it the largest one to date. And it's taking place at a convention center for the first time. Like it doesn't fit in a hotel anymore.
That's really cool. Does it share a lot of similarities with like the vibe and like quasi opportunities that you have at something like AWP?
Yes and no. No. They're traditionally it's been more of like the craft part. So like the book fair part and the sort of publisher aspect that there is at AWP has not always been part of Alta. Alta is more of the craft and the panel and roundtable and discussion amongst each other sort of setup. There's a lot of camaraderie, which might also be different than AWP. I think AWP can be a little bit more competitive where there's a lot of camaraderie there too, but like you are sort of vying for a limited number of spots, I guess.
Sure.
Of getting published, so you might have a little bit more like of an edge to it. Whereas Alta doesn't have that. But this year is the first year that we're having pitch sessions for translators get to come and present to an editor their pitch for their project, 5 minutes, just like we did at the Ladder Conference here in Rochester. And I'm doing 2 hours of that on Saturday morning, and then Sunday morning at 9 a.m., which is gonna be wild. There's no way.
Do you have a timer on your phone?
Yeah. I have a phone, so therefore I have a timer.
Well, duh.
But yeah,
it's early. I'm not used to getting this extra hour of sleep. I'm sorry.
It's very confusing. Yeah. It's so bright outside. But yeah, so that'll be wild, and I wonder if anyone will listen to this before they come to my pitch session. But if you bring me something really nice in the morning to help me make it through an hour-long pitch session, and then followed by a panel that I have to moderate, I would be very appreciative of that. I mean, this isn't a quid pro quo. I'm just suggesting.
But it's on Saturday, you said?
I do it Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, okay. So if you're doing it Saturday morning, you should probably bring Chad maybe those Alka-Seltzers that work for hangovers and just plop 2 of them in a cup and go, by the time my pitch is over, you can drink this and you'll feel a lot better here. Like as your mouth breathing and sweating down your back, trying not to throw up.
I've got to host is it Saturday night that I host the thing? I think on Saturday night I host a reading series too, a reading event that's at Volo. That's going to be like it was going to be a lit crawl, but there's a certain individual who did not actually make the phone calls to make it a crawl to go from one place to another. He never actually followed through on contacting any of the bars. So it's now a lit sit where everyone goes to one bar and just there's going to be the readings there.
Just a sit in.
Just a sit. It's just a reading. Like it's just a reading.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I haven't gone to a conference since I think like 2000, winter of 2000 or like February of 2015 maybe.
You were good.
I need to go to I need to go to one at some point, but I'd only gone to them like as a bright-eyed MFA student where you're just like there to like listen to somebody talk, or hey, I rubbed forearms with Alexander Chi at a bar. That's pretty awesome. Like that was like my experience at them, right? Where you're just kind of like fake it till you make it, like wanting to be an author so bad, and like seeing people that are in the within the clique or whatever, and you're outside looking in, and then you just go get drunk with other classmates and other MFA programs. But yeah, so I'd be really curious to. I'm curious to go to Alta and see.
There's a part of that at Alta because a lot of like MFA students come, and they hang out in there. But the thing that's very notable is that the more experienced translators or seasoned translators will frequently like help out the younger ones. So a lot of people will find like. Because I mean, it gets so divided. So like, if you're a writer, you could write poetry or fiction or creative nonfiction. Those are groupings. But here we're talking about like, are you a Argentine specialist? Translation, or are you someone who works from Norwegian? There's only like X number of people who are like the seasoned, experienced Norwegian translators, and if they're there, they're always willing to help. They seemingly are always willing to help like younger translators kind of break in.
It seems
and
like a really yeah, maybe there's infighting and side punching and punching down or whatever, but like it's such a tight knit, small world. Like you have to help each other out. You're all, like like you're all in it for survival together. So like why, I think it'd be a really cool community. So
it should, yeah. I don't know where I think that there's that community is really cool, which I'm not really part of because I don't translate. So like I'm a interloper, and that my interloper status can be questionable.
No, but
publishers have power and are bad and are stealing money and taking rights constantly. We're evil.
No, like all the translators I've met have been like so encouraging and helping each other. It seems like it seems like it's a neat little a neat club within the small corner of the literary community. So like it's really neat.
You're gonna get kidnapped on Saturday night. Wait, I need to check this. So I keep saying this, and
can I check my schedule to make sure?
No, nope. You cannot. Yeah. So Friday night. So Friday night at your. Is this right? Yeah. Friday night. There's the Cafe Latino. Is for all Spanish language translators. They do a series of readings, and they're doing it in Vesper. So you're coming downstairs and having a drink with me in Vesper during that.
Oh hell yeah! Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, and there's a bunch of people that I know there's at least one person who's part of it that's been on this podcast. So you can.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah. So you're coming down to drink with in Vesper and make fun of the walnut cranberry $25 hummus with me.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. We won't get kicked out. When we do get kicked out, we'll just go to Sidebar and like eat some jerk chicken and burn down your apartment building again.
Yeah. Speaking of walnuts and cranberries, what did you think of Duck's Newburyport with all of the cooking?
Well, I love the cooking. There's a good segue. Good segue.
That's the most clumsy segue I could get out of Alta and back into Ohio.
So we're going up to page 429 today, and the one thing that I marked up a lot of stuff because I like this section quite a bit. There's a lot of little notes and a lot of little things, but I thought that as an experiment, and I was going to do it with the guests that we were going to have, but that didn't quite work out because they're traveling here for Alta. But the idea that I had was that this book, we've talked about the craft, we've talked about different angles too. We've tried to approach it from different ways each time. And because it is basically the same sort of craft narrative the whole way, I didn't want to go over that again. There's only so many things that we can really say about this kind of single sentence, the cadence to it. There's only so many times that we can say those same things. But I believe that this book was written so that people would take the things that their narrator is saying seriously or give them some consideration. And we are both parents, so we both have some relationship to this. And we're both, humans in the world. So like all the stuff that's happening in terms of climate change and in terms of the politics and everything else are things that we can reflect on. So that we could just kind of jump through reading parts of the book, but also any things that you remember or come to mind about her either worries, anxieties, concerns, and treat them seriously and sort of talk about them. And I'm going to start with one that's not in the book. I got this postcard that I'm holding up here that's from Marblehead, which I don't know what the Marblehead's Ohio. Marblehead, Ohio, along the Lake Erie shoreline. So this is built in 1821. It's the oldest working lighthouse on the Great Lakes. This was sent to me from, I think I figured out it was from Illinois and not from Ohio. But regardless, I can't read it now. But regardless, I got this postcard. It's not actually addressed to me, but it's addressed to our office. And it says, a good idea is African-American professionals can finance transportation costs to return their people to the African nations. So I feel like racism is a good place to start because Ohio is wicked racist. and that's a concern.
Holy cow. Why did you get that? It's handwritten?
It's handwritten. It's not addressed to me. It's just addressed to our office. This is our specific box number. There's no one else that has that box number. So it's sent to us. But like, I'm not African American, so I'm not entirely sure where that's coming from. But not cool. Not cool, Ohio.
What have you published that was near that? I wonder if maybe it's linked to one of your books or something.
I can't even think of anything that would relate to.
It's sometimes really hard to think through like why idiotic things are the way they are. like trying to solve this mystery is probably doesn't make any sense. It's probably just like some just messed up person. So you're gonna have a really hard time.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like racism in Ohio is probably a 10. that's a concern of mine. I think that's not good.
I'll bet you $5 they probably use empty country crock canisters as Tupperware in their house. They just have hundreds of those around the house.
My mom did that.
My mom did too. They're probably eating cereal out of that gray margarine tub.
Yep,
it works as a cereal bowl. I love when she mentioned that in here, like being like, because like now everybody's back, like you're just supposed to have real butter because that stuff gives you cancer. Like, like, gosh, in the like through the 70s and 80s, like that's all there was just. And then when I Can't Believe It's Not Butter came out, and like the spray,
I used to spray all the time.
You could just spray the cancer right into your mouth now.
I know. I just choke on it. This is great.
Like Banaka.
You know what I do is I take it instead of a plastic bottle and I warm it up so that all the chemicals in the plastic go right into the butter, and then I spray it. That's all over.
Thing. Does Banaka still exist? Remember that was like a huge fad for a while in the 80s as well?
Oh my God. So that was a big deal when I was in junior high because everyone would carry around their Banaka, I can't even say it, and spray themselves just in case they're going to make out with someone. Like in between classes, they'd just be like walking down the hallway, guys, spray up just in case you just like, you never know, you're just going to be making out with someone in the middle of the hallway.
Because again, I like that part where she references that in this book, not Banaka, but like, you know, pepper spray. If you don't have pepper spray, maybe hairspray or obviously like Banaka would work as far as stinging someone's eyes out with a spray. But
is pepper spray still a thing? I mean, it has to be, right? But like, I remember in college, like everyone, I had that circle to ask that question of like, does pepper spray, is it still as popular? Like everyone had it on their keychain and would be ready with the mace or the pepper spray in case they're attacked. And I don't feel like I've heard that very often now.
Well, like throughout the 90s, every single crime drama and movie where you had a bad guy would kidnap a woman in a dark parking garage.
Yes.
Right? Like without question, it's a dark parking garage. It's the sound of high heels clacking on the, right? And it's empty. They hear a noise and it's the last car leaving. And then, I'm safe. Oh, then you're not safe, right? And then like that's where like the pepper spray, like you have to have pepper spray, otherwise you're going to get raped and killed inside of a parking garage because it happens every time.
Which is the worst.
And they are terrifying though. Like I'm terrified to be alone in a parking garage. But I feel like there was like this like moment in time where like that was in every movie with a bad guy that stalks people. There's that scene, or every like Law and Order had that scene, and there was always pepper spray involved when they got away.
But Like I
Like
don't.
a gentle knee to the groin when they're on the ground, or pepper spray to the face, and that's the person that gets away can tell the police sort of what the guy looks like and get the mystery ball rolling as far as solving the crimes, right?
Very true. Very true. So this is a concern then related to this is like they talk about the self-defense. She talks about self-defense at school, and maybe we should teach that. Like I have a 15-year-old daughter who walks to school. Like
Okay.
I should be getting her mace or pepper spray. But she
Krav
probably use it
Maga.
on her brother. Probably use it on her brother.
And the Krav Maga.
Yeah. Absolutely. But that's actually a legit, like she's mentioned that like someone one time when she was walking home, like asked her if she wanted to buy drugs or something. And I was like, well, that seems pretty normal. But like, this is I mean, for Rochester, that's tame. That is tame. We could have a lot of weirder things.
How hard were the drugs?
Yeah, that's what I asked her if it was a good price. I was like, did you ask how much it was? Like, yeah, come on, man, get it together. But the like she should probably have that. Like that is a dangerous. This is like all the ideas that come up in here of like in the background that we've talked about in several books and that everyone knows of like male violence and the fact that women are a danger going out into the parking lots or walking to school. Like that's a 10 for me too. So racism in Ohio and violence towards women that shows up in the book, both 10s of high concern.
Well, there's like that literary trope going around right now with, I read an essay probably once a month or something talking about like murdering women or selling books with the promise of like destruction and harm to the female body. Like, isn't that something that you're seeing a lot as far like girl on a train, girl missing on a bus, girl missing on a Uber? Like it's like just insert girl missing and some sort of transportation or place, and like you've got a book that could probably move some titles in an airport.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, there's a lot.
And then make sure they're looking away a little bit on the cover, and then we're good to go.
They're looking back to get their pepper spray.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's very obvious and problematic. There's one thing that came up. So let's do a fun one. Because I wanted to read this because I think that one of our listeners is going to and probably knows this fact, but if not, she's going to freak the fuck out. Is this part? The fact that we need spiders, I know, but maybe not that many. The fact that most homes have at least 10 different kinds of spiders in them, crab spiders and other kinds. The fact that, according to Ben, you are never more than 4 feet from a spider, which I heard the same fact the other day, but it was 6 feet, 3, 4, and 6 feet. No matter where you are at any moment in time, you are apparently 4 to 6 feet away from a spider. Level of concern for me is probably a 7 on that. I'm not a big spider fan at all. I saw a tarantula multiple times in Marfa. One of them, the last day I was there, I opened the door to my house. I'd already been attacked by a wild turkey, like clawed by a wild turkey that chased me down a road. I had to have someone save me. That was already a thing that happened. And then on the last day, I opened up the door and this big spider just went woof, like super fast. I was like, oh shit. I jumped back and I looked and it was a tarantula that was like on my door. I was like, well, I'm just gonna have to burn this whole house down and never come back again. Like, no other solution that I'm aware of. But I went out to dinner and I came back and I didn't see it. So I snuck in and hid. And I asked the caretaker of all the Marfa residencies about it the next day when he was driving me to the airport. And he's like, oh, didn't I tell you? You have a tarantula nest in the back of the house that you stayed in. That's where they breed. Like, no, I did not know that. And I don't think I was paid at all.
Nightmare fuel.
Apparently they all like migrate across roads too there in mass. So no, it's the spider thing creeps me the fuck out.
We could do a total 90s deep dive, like Arachnophobia. I remember that film came out and everybody was freaked out.
I don't like
I've got a spider story that'll be a little unsettling for some folks. I was going to school in San Diego, and I lived kind of like butted up next to like a desert area. It's called the Marine Corps Air Station. So there's like nothing there because it's all owned by the government. And there was a wildfire going on because apparently that happens every day there.
Yep.
And so it like pushed a lot of like wildlife out of the deserts or whatever, and like more in towards the city. Well, I was getting in bed late at night and I felt something like pinch me on my foot under the covers in my bed.
Oh no.
And I pulled the covers back and didn't see anything or whatever, and then went to sleep. Then I found out like a day later I had been bitten by a spider on my foot that was in my covers, and it was a brown recluse. And so then it started.
No.
Yeah, so I didn't know it, and I like went to work wearing like I worked at Starbucks at the time, so you have just like filthy shoes that are like covered in coffee and bacteria, who knows what, and it created this like terrible like infection on your like because a brown recluse is a like flesh eating.
Yep. It's like MRSA.
I almost had to have my foot amputated because of how bad it got, and I missed school for like 8 weeks. I almost flunked out of like all my classes. I had to get like it was bad.
That's really bad. Aiden,
Yeah, all
Aiden had
in the bottom of my bed, under the covers when I got in bed at night. Sleep tight, everyone.
Aiden had a bite when we were on vacation in Kentucky. He got like a bite that he was itching. He was complaining that it was hurting, and that it was becoming like a welt. And so I ended up having to take him to like an emergency room or like a clinic, and they're like, this woman in the clinic room, she's like, oh, that looks like a brown recluse bite. I had one of those, and here's pictures of it. And she showed like all these pictures of her arm essentially like falling apart as it
creates an ulcer. Yeah, it's
so gross. He ended up having just MRSA, which I guess is, not better.
Yeah, whatever.
but whatever. But aside from spiders, the other thing that I saw this article, and I know it's in here, I can't find a good quote that refers to it, but when she talks about like school shootings, obviously, and like the and all the gun stuff, all the open carry people that she's afraid of, and school shootings just generally. So I saw this article where Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang is proposing ending active shooter drills in U.S. schools, arguing that trauma and anxiety the process causes far outweigh the likelihood of a real-life shooting. He cited a statistic that the likelihood of a public school student being killed by a gunman is less than 1 in 614 million. So
I agree.
Yeah, so like the idea of like all this like hiding and all these dramatic reenactments are like more stressful because it's incredibly unlikely for you to get shot in a school shooting.
Yeah, so like again, another true story. I taught 7th grade world history, and we had to do these part of our curriculum was active shooter drills. So we had like code blacks and code brown, like different colors for different scenarios. And so the active shooter drill, like it's absolutely like it's like doing duck and cover with like nuclear, like worried about nuclear bombs and like get under your desk, the nuclear fallout's coming. Like I forgot, like I was supposed to like take a desk and put it in front of the door because you can't have locks on the door.
Yep.
So you put a desk in front of the door, and we had rolled up paper that you undo the tape, and that way you put paper over the window so the shooter can't look in to see if you're in. So you're like rolling down paper and taping it. You're putting a desk in front of it. And then you have like all the kids huddle into the thing, and you have to have them keep quiet. So like as the person's blowing people away in classroom to classroom in the hallways, shh, don't make any noise. We don't want them to know we're in here. Like they're not going to scream. They're 7th graders. And so we're doing this drill, and like, half the people aren't really taking it serious, and some are. I'm just like, this is like, why are we doing this? Because I eventually I just told them, look, if something actually does happen, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pick up this chair. I'm going to throw it against that window. And then we're just going to jump off the 2nd story. Like, yeah, you'll break your legs, but no one's going to get shot that way. We're just jumping out the window. Are we good on that? And they're like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm like, yeah, we're not sitting in here waiting to get shot. I'm not going to do that. No. Because if you think a desk in front of a door is going to stop anything, or like, oh, here's a piece of paper in front of the window, now we're good. Like,
this piece of paper is signals that there's someone inside there. Yeah. There's no other way to put the paper up.
Yeah,
like you have to be in there. But that's what you would shoot for. Oh my God!
Why on earth are we spending like a place like a classroom to like instill this in people? It's insane.
It's a level of like anxiety making.
How about a fire drill? That makes a lot more sense because fires happen a lot more often.
We always have the fire drill, and every time that the fire drill goes off in our building, we all are like hide in an office and lock the door so that we don't have to go outside because it's just everyone. It's probably not a real fire. It's unlikely.
Yeah. Firefighters found 17 people huddled in one corner, all burned to death. They must have been trying to save themselves together, and they went out in an act of bravery. It's like, whatever. They were trying to have coffee. You have your facts all wrong. They were trying to avoid the drill.
The class that I teach.
Go ahead.
The classroom that I teach in today, and it's one of the classrooms I usually use, has no windows. It's just a box with no windows and one set of doors. So like
You're
if
all
there's an
dead.
active, yeah, there's nothing
You're
you
all
could
dead.
do. So like we have to watch these videos every year that are like reenacting and showing like what you're supposed to do. And you're like run, hide, and then fight is the last one. And it's always like this ridiculous stuff where like a guy walks in with like 4 AK-15s and are just like blowing people away, and everyone's like huddled down, and then some woman screams and he just like seizes on that, and then they like jump him with like a fire extinguisher and beat him. It's like not like motherfucking Captain America over here. Like I'm really not going to be able to like take down a shooter most likely, but I don't need to see this every year.
Do you notice at all any like anxieties or conversations with like your kids going to schools, and like obviously they're doing these drills and stuff? Like, is that something they worry about, like shootings, and is
I
that
haven't
on their radar?
Yes, I haven't asked them about the drills recently, but Aiden's school was shut down at least once for like the entire day because of a threat. And so they do, and they do know Chloe's school has the metal detectors. You have to go through a metal detector, and every morning, every student has to go through it, and like they're very, very, very cautious about it. And I think that she has alluded to the fact that there are people that used to like want to bring guns to school. Maybe not a shooting thing, but they were actively like, you know, trying. It's a city school. Shit needs to get worked out somewhere, I think, for a lot of people. I've seen big, huge kid fights where I used to live downtown. There'd be these massive fights among like the high school students because they all got bused to the central bus location near where you live, and they would just break out into these massive like 50-person fights. So they are afraid that there's violence among the kids and that could always break out. But Aiden's was the most terrifying because he's like a 5th grader, and like some kid on Fortnite beat some other kid, and so that kid was like texting him and through Fortnite telling everyone on the game that he was going to come to their school, naming the school, and was going to shoot and kill everyone the next day. So they had to like take it seriously. They didn't really think it was going to happen, but they took it seriously. And that just like when I pulled up to drop him off, and there's like all these police, and they're like, no school, like there's a threat. That freaks everyone out, I think. And I mean, so on a level, like the school shootings are so frequent. The mass shootings in this country are so frequent that like I think this is a high level anxiety for me. But at the same time, I am also aware that like the odds are very low.
Well, no, because like it's something like obviously my daughter's 4, but like my wife is very concerned. Like she's like, I don't even know if I want her to go to public school, like or like, you know, I'm like, I'm not going to homeschool our kid. Like that's
she will never talk to you again.
Yeah, that'll be worse than possibly being a school shooting. Trust me. Like this is like I'm not going to be. She'll be so awkward and weird. Like you don't want me homeschooling our kid. Trust me. She's going to school. We'll get her a Kevlar dress. She'll be fine.
Kevlar backpack.
Yeah. But I think I was looking up like some gun statistics and stuff a week or two ago, and I think it was something like 0.2% of gun deaths are what would be considered mass shootings. Yeah. It's a very low amount of the actual gun deaths we have here, but they're horrific and terrifying when you, because obviously they make wonderful news as far as the coverage they're going to get, but man, it's so like you can't help it. It's I don't know. It's like someone telling you like you're not going to get bit by a shark. It's like but people do. Yeah, and that's horrific and really scary. So I'm just going to stay on the beach and I'm cool. I'm fine with that. Like,
except in like remember when we went to P-Town, to Provincetown, and we read that story about the shark coming up on land to eat that dude. Like, you're not even safe there. You're safe nowhere.
No, but it's like it's like if you're not afraid, like people that are afraid of flying, you try to tell them like like you're totally fine. Like you're more likely to get killed driving to the airport, or like that doesn't help the fact like when you're above the ground and you're probably not supposed to be that high up in the air. It's not natural.
And planes work by magic.
Yeah, of course.
And magic might just go away one day.
Yeah.
Yep,
that's interesting with the Fortnite because again, I haven't played video games in a long time. Yeah. But this video game, like the video game culture where like these like hardcore nerds will do with because of live streaming now with swatting. I had to figure out what swatting was.
Wait, I don't think I know what swatting is.
Somehow they get the SWAT team to arrive to somebody's house while they're live streaming to interrupt the streaming that the person's doing.
Wait, like this is a thing?
Yes, this is a
Holy
thing.
shit.
And what happened, I think it was a couple of years ago, the SWAT team came in and killed somebody, like accidentally killed somebody, because they
Oh my God.
treat the threats very seriously. And the people that, they investigated the kids or, the young adults that did it, and they're doing jail time now. But yeah, like
Wow.
who could have ever, Robert Coover couldn't even envision like live streaming video games and getting the SWAT teams to show up to kill people that killed you in the game. Like,
That's so sinister. And these games are set up to be killing. Like their battle royale is the hot thing
yeah,
right now, right?
yeah.
I feel
Let's just blame it on video games. That's the easiest answer to any of this, right?
yeah, which no. I have a SWAT team story.
Okay.
So I was in when I worked at Delkey Archive, we had one of our offices was this like big warehouse that was a little bit outside of town, a little bit further away from like where the campus was, and it was like a warehouse where half of it was used by like receiving for whatever, and then half of it was like our offices, or like a quarter of it was our offices. But it's this huge warehouse space, and so what no one really knew until this happened was that once every like 3 months, the SWAT team runs exercises in the warehouse because it's like a good place to run sort of exercises. And I was in there working late at night, like at 10 o'clock at night, like listening to music on headphones, typing away at my computer, and all of a sudden caught something out of the corner of my eye and turned, and this woman had a fucking gun trained on me. And I was like, what the hell's happening? And they're like, explain that this was their training thing, and they didn't know, they heard a sound and they didn't know who was in here. And so they came to like, check up on me, but I did not get shot, thank God. But
maybe you would have this experience. Like, I remember the first time I traveled to West Africa and getting into the airport, and you see people wearing like fatigues with a beret on their head, and they're holding assault weapons.
Yeah.
It's very unnerving.
It's
that's
so
something
scary. I hate it.
I'm not used to seeing. And now there's like just like people walking around and to get get a big gulp at 7-Eleven that can be wearing their tactical militia gear or whatever. Like that's going to be kind of more and more normal. Like
yeah,
like it should be terrifying to see somebody carrying a weapon in public. Like it
doesn't help that these weapons
it's being
look
normalized.
Fake. Yeah, and that is one of her big concerns, obviously, and I'd say that's a high one for me too. Because if it becomes more normalized, that's just way worse.
Well, it's super normalized, like open carry dudes.
In Ohio, for sure.
Sure.
And other parts. I mean, we don't have that here because it's not allowed. But if it is, if all the anti-Cuomo people get their way, they'll be carrying around their guns all through Rochester, and that'll be fucked up.
Well, like. Just think about like this, like again, another like if we want to go back to like movie tropes, like every Western where there's like a crazy lawless town and somebody comes up to clean up the town, they make it where you get into the city limits, you got to hand over your gun to this, like, you know what I mean? Like, take your gun belt off and you can get it when you leave, because we don't want people in town like drinking and fighting and having guns. Like that's a bad idea. Like they knew that in like 1890. Come on.
Get it together.
And there was only like 11 people in the town. There's 11 people, right? It's not a real busy town. Turn in your guns. Oh, shucks, sheriff.
Oh my God!
Like that's a thing that they did because they knew they knew this is a bad idea.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing I was going to try and segue off of the Twitch streaming thing is the morning routine videos. And like in this case, she refers to this. So here's like a bit from 400 and 401. I'm jumping around a bit, but at 400, there's one part that begins: the fact that parents have a moral obligation to make their kids happy, but kids don't have to make their parents happy. And then she talks about watching a movie, All That Heaven Allows, rock, cock, oh dear me, calm down, kid, color therapy, synesthesia, the fact that it was amazing Stacy stayed and watched the whole thing like that, the fact that, boy, I miss her company now that she hates me all the time, the fact that we used to go on outings together, like to get clothes for school, or some afternoons we just take off on our own, leave Leo in charge, sneak off for milkshakes and a movie, just the two of us. The fact that what I miss most, though, is her sitting on my lap when she was little. The fact that, gosh, how'd she cringe if I ever told her that? The fact that she'd swap me right and left with galoshes if she had any. The fact that she hates practically everything I say and do now and can hardly bear to be near me. The fact that it breaks your heart. The fact that my heart is broken. I'm broken. The fact that we're all going to pass away someday, but she'd rather spend time with those morning routine girls than listen to a thing I have to say. Which that whole bit is a lot in there of like the relationship between the mother and daughter. But the morning routine videos, I went in the bathroom yesterday morning to change Alex's diaper, and Chloe was in there putting makeup on. I was like, oh, is this your morning routine? Are you filming a morning routine video? And she got really mad. And she said she doesn't watch morning routine videos. She only watches Instagram photos of morning routine things. But like, I was like, that's the same. That's a morning routine video, but pause.
Duh, Dad.
Yeah, duh. It's like Zendaya only does Instagram. But yeah, but like, yeah, that 15-year-old mindset of this morning routine stuff and like their compulsion about that, and that does cause the internet, or the way that this causes and there's many things to this, but there is like a rift that that can develop easily between like a parent and child based in part on the fact that they're going through their teenage years. We had a huge fight last night because I'm the worst human being ever. All that stuff.
Well, that's widely described, so that's fine. It was super heartbreaking too when you think about on 360, the mountain lion part, that first paragraph. Yeah. To her kittens, she was a great beauty. They admired her white muzzle and the long, lovely white belly where milk was stored. The undulating landscape of those apricot flanks and lemon yellow ridges became their first mountain range, with wide ledges, steep, slippery slopes, and darker crannies below, providing places to hide and leap out of it at each other unexpectedly. They climbed all over her, benefiting at the same time from her warmth, her heartbeat, and vigilance.
Yeah.
So that tight connection that's between mother and child right there with lion and kitten. And then when you see the way our narrator feels about Stace and them like, that's just
it's so heartbreaking. That section I read, it always made me want to cry.
So brutal.
It really is. In that same section of the mountain lion, the last paragraph of that is really intense too, or penultimate paragraph. What kittens fear most is falling, drowning, being too small, getting crushed or buried alive. For kittenhood is about a closure and escape. They bravely blunder forth in birth, then press on through one lucky turn after another until life or death overtakes them. They dream of preparation and release, the release in them of untold power. But yeah. There's also this is one that you probably relate to too, is her concern about the fact that they give kids tater tots at school. The fact that I don't know what's even in a tater tot, and I hate to think the fact that I knows that they sound like they're extruded, the tater tots, not the kids. The fact that Leo has to think about cheeseburgers. Like the school food situation is a concern for someone who's
apparently I'm gonna be homeschooling. So.
Yeah, so it should be fine.
At one of these points, I know we've got a few hundred pages left to, we're only four tenths of the way through. I want to try to make a lemon drizzle cake. I've never made one, but with keep hearing about it,
yeah.
I just want to try to make one to see like, oh wow, these are really easy to mess up, or
I'll bet.
I don't know.
Would you describe the lattice thing for like the pies? Like I can imagine that and just be like, there's no way I can. I don't bake. I can cook. I can't bake. I don't have the patience for it.
Yeah, it's too scientific for me.
You should do the lemon drizzle cake, and we'll do a live episode where we eat it.
Sure.
Or like live together episode where we eat it. That would be great. There's a lot of food stuff in here, man.
Just two bros eating lemon drizzle cake.
Yeah, we could call it
literature.
Two bros and one cake.
Gross. Yeah. No, there was a big, and again, maybe I'm thinking too much into it with the motherhood piece, but I doubt it. She seems super intentional with the way she's kind of planting mines in all the little seams. But eggs, chickens and eggs is all over this section. And obviously water. Yeah, the water was the one I was going to mention too. You're a Michigan guy. Tell me about drinking water. Right?
I think I don't remember if I said this here, but like we just drank from the taps and hoses, and nobody
explains
everything.
That explains everything.
And now I like the bit in there about Flint where like, is it Nestle gives them bottled water, but Nestle they have to pay $200 a month for their water, but Nestle paid $200 for the reservoir that allows them to make the bottled water that people can actually drink.
Yeah.
So capitalism, high priority in here, like subtly, not
Yep.
explicitly rendered, but it is like we've destroyed. There's several times where she does directly say we've destroyed the environment for money and killed people for profit. And that's a high concern for me. And then that stuff's so gross and distasteful.
Like it's incredible. Every time I have family in town here, we have to go to Niagara Falls. So I've lived here for almost 6 years, and I've gone to Niagara Falls 948 times.
Yep.
So I look at that water.
A lot of it. There's a lot of water there.
If I recall, I believe they set up the national park system because of what happened to Niagara Falls.
Really?
Because it wasn't protected. And when you go there and you see just like how, like here you have this beautiful natural wonder. It's incredible, and it feels like just like sacred and holy. There's something amazing about that place. And then right off of the water's edge, as soon as the foundation can handle it, it's like a strip mall and a shawarma place and a McDonald's and a seedy motel. Like, and it's just it's so disgusting. Yeah, and a casino. It just ruins the entire experience. It's completely scarred because of people want to make a couple bucks off of a landmark.
And it's worse. Niagara Falls depresses me when we go there because like there is that element of like where it used to be like in the 50s, like a honeymoon resort sort of place. And there's something charming and old worldy about some of the places there, but all of that's gone. Nobody's there for that anymore. Now it's just like, now it's just gross and capitalist and run down and icky. With the water, I saw a report yesterday that they did a study in Canada, and there's like a huge amount of like of Canadian water that was like tainted with whatever is it PFOAs? Whatever it is. I have no idea. Whatever
I guarantee it's in the back of this book.
I know. I quit looking at the back. Have you been using that much? Because I stopped looking at it.
Not really. I've known most of them so far. There were quite a few that I didn't know in this section, but
yeah.
Let me know.
PFOA, perfluorotanoic acid.
Just call it C8.
Yeah. Bad shit.
Yeah, so there you go. Of course, it was in here. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it really. Whoa. So some of these are wild. Like OCDO, opencarry.org, gun advocates website. I don't know if that's real, but I'm gonna have to check on my I'll put it on private and then look that up so I don't like get any more weird.
No, I imagine it's probably just as bad as the morning routine videos are the home defense, concealed carry, Second Amendment YouTube. There's like this corner of YouTube that's just so gun crazy. It's so frightening.
Do you remember that one?
A few of them.
Do you remember that one that we found that we sent you where it's the guy that's like a veteran that's doing like veteran, he has a book that was like a best-selling book. Publishers Weekly had like a little thing on him.
You're welcome for my service.
Yes.
Black Rifle Company.
Yes. And like they make like coffee, but then every video is like his wife in a bikini shooting like 9,000 rounds into things. Like, God, I mean, I feel like, okay, so the other part of this, and this does have this will be a good, this is a very quintessential Chad 2-month review moment, is the Trump stuff in here, obviously, like the concern about Trump and but it goes broader than that because she's concerned about all politics. Like she makes fun of the Hillary stuff. Bill Clinton doesn't get off easy. Everyone's like, politicians are bad. I feel like that's probably true in all cases. Trump's especially bad. And I don't know if you must have seen the picture of the Washington Nationals won the World Series. They go to the White House to celebrate, and Kurt Suzuki, who should never have done this, puts on a MAGA hat, and Trump behind him like grabs his breasts and is like massaging Kurt Suzuki's breast with like this demented look on his face. And that's not cool. Like that was really disturbing. I don't know where I was going to go with this, except that it's got baseball and Trump. That's a concern, but I think the gun thing is a higher concern to me than the Trump thing even.
Here's the perfect analogy for President Trump. Dana White is I don't know if he's owner or CEO or whatever. He owns a huge chunk of the UFC, Ultimate Fighting Championship. It's the cage fighting. And they just got a huge deal with ESPN. So like they're with Disney now, right? Like this is insane, whatever. So yeah, quote unquote woke Disney is doing UFC fights as well. So yes, whatever. This is a really weird world that we're living in. and he was mentioning like Trump was at Madison Square Garden for their last pay-per-view event, which he actually got booed at,
Yep.
which is pretty cool. But anyways, when asked about it, Dana White was saying in the press conference, like, it makes you feel like you made it. Like Bush went to a lot of baseball games, Obama liked to go to a lot of NBA games, and now Donald Trump is going to UFC fights. Like,
Wow.
it tells you like we've made it as a, like, so we have the UFC president, the one that wants to watch people like beat the shit out of each other and bleed on canvas, and you know,
Quite literally.
yeah, like but it like perfectly kind of sums up like the, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's our Trump era. Like, sure, none of the presidents are really good, but like this is the world we're living in, and it makes sense why there's so much fear, so much anxiety, so much violence, so much everything just like pushed up and escalated. I mean, what's the difference between UFC and football? Like, it's people bashing their brains in. Like, one just gives you a lot more blood.
I think
It's just pushed to the limits of insanity.
I think the main difference is that more people stand for the flag at UFC.
Yeah.
Ugh, man, this is such a
So I
yeah.
mean, totally, and I can only imagine, you know, a mother-daughter connection, and like the fear and anxiety you have of, like, I feel for Stacy. Like, what is gonna happen with her? Like, how is she gonna be raised in this world? And the anxiety and the fears that her mom has. I can only imagine.
Yep, it really is. And like she mentioned all the climate stuff's change stuff too that's in here. Yesterday we officially pulled out of the Paris Accords for climate change, or whatever it's called. So there's all the things that are in here as anxieties or worries are still ongoing. It's odd in a way. I hadn't thought about this, and I'm just saying this out loud for the first time. I haven't even thought through the entirety of this sentence, but most books that we read tend to be a little bit dated, so we're reading them afterwards.
Yeah, like
so you have like
at least 3-4 years, right?
At least 3-4 years, yeah. And especially with translations, it's like there's a gap, and that's part of like where I had this theory the other day about that gap being why translations can function in culture in a different way than a traditional book can, because they're taken out of time in a way, whereas most books are in the moment of time, and they become more commercial objects when they are that than when they're forced to be in a different space. That's not the point. With this, we are reading something that is happening right now. So like in like 20 years, when someone reads this book, I wonder if they're going to be like, oh, those concerns are quaint. Like, we have like the world's on fire. We don't have water anymore. People are just literally running around shooting each other nonstop. We live in Mad Max Thunderdome, and they'll be like, this book is silly. Like, this sounds like a pleasant time. Like, I would have loved to live when there was like morning routine videos. Now I like I have to kill a man and drink his blood to get my phone to work. Like, the world could get so fucked. There was once I was talking to my neighbor about this, because he was like, do you remember growing up where we first got a car with seatbelts, and the seatbelt was like a strap that you just put around your waist, and if you'd get like decapitated, or not decapitated, you get cut in half.
It's so they could find the bodies after the car crash. Yeah. They're strapped in by that lap strap thing.
And now we think about it now, and we're like, that's a ridiculous idea. Like, why didn't we start with better seatbelts? We started with like the worst idea. And he's like, well,
unsafe at any speed.
Know that like in some years, like our kids are going to be like, you guys are using microwaves? What were you thinking? Like, why did you think microwaves are a good idea? Like, I don't know, man. But like, is that going to be the case? Or like, do we need to worry about this?
Have an iPad? You let a kid have an iPad? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's like.
Well, it makes them shut up for 10 minutes. You microwave their brain, and they're like drooling out of their ear now.
Dude, I am the worst at that sometimes, though, because there are times where you just need that moment. Like,
there's too many studies where it's like shrinking their brains. It's like soaking their heads in soy milk or something. Yeah.
Soy milk, of course. Anyways, I'm gonna have to get running here. So, do you have a favorite line that you want to share from this section?
Sure. I'll do 373. I think I wrote it down here. Let's make sure it's the right one. 373. I like this idea of 373 at the bottom. I don't know why. It just made me feel really sad. The girl in Island of the Blue Dolphins making herself necklaces, even though nobody will ever see her. The fact that I learned nothing about life when I was a teenager, except that I can't do things and that I'm a disappointment to myself and others. The fact that high school was like a 4-year training camp and how to be disappointed in myself.
Oh, man. Yes.
Just thinking about that, and like, juxtaposed to the beginning section with the lioness and the kittens, and then her relationship with her daughter, and then just making these pies and wondering if it matters. And then it was just, there's some brutal stuff in this section.
It really is. I mean, it's just so emotional. It's also like true and raw, and it's unfiltered, and that unfilteredness makes it so intense and so wonderful.
But she did have the line, "I like all moms in movies."
Yeah,
like,
I know. I marked
Chad's
that.
line.
I was trying to find where that was. Here it is. Finally, here it is. Yeah. So my line: the fact that I like her mom, the fact that I like moms in movies in general. Boom. I also wrote somewhere on here. Where is it now? Somewhere there's a big thing that I just wrote, pure mom, across the bottom. I'm not sure what that is for. Let's see if I can find it again. There's I have one last story this reminds me of. So there's on 392, there's the fact that the NFL makes $10 billion a year, and then lower down it says whatevs, the fact that Stacey says whatevs all the time. So I was in Wegmans the other day and I was checking out, and there was like a very like emo girl checking me out as a cashier. And I walked up and she's like, "How are you doing?" It's like, "Good. How are you doing?" She said, "Whatever." I thought in my head, I was like, "Wow, this is happening." And then my next thought was, I wanted to be like, "Yeah, I get you, emo girl. Like, fuck the patriarchy. Let's go. Let's do this. Like, yeah, whatever. Right. Yeah, don't listen."
Yeah, I guess it really doesn't matter how you feel, because I'm just going to brutalize your body in some way or another through systemic legislature. Yeah, you're right. Whatever.
Oh yeah, right here. Here's pure mom. 381. I'll end with this one. The fact that I get a lot of innocent pleasure from watching my kids do almost anything. Even Jake clobbering a Madeline on the kitchen floor right now with my favorite wooden rolling pin. That's like a pure mom statement to me. Like that you love your kids no matter what, and like doing that, like watching them do whatever, even if it's like not what you necessarily want them to be doing.
So, yeah, hug your little ones, hold them tight, because they're not going to want to sit in your lap for very long.
Nope, and then you'll be sad. So next week we're going to go through page 487. You can always find Open Letter online at open_letter on Twitter, or Open Letter on Instagram. I'm Chad. We post everywhere. Brian Wood _ on Twitter. And everyone needs to go out and buy a copy of Joytime Killbox, which is available now from better bookstores everywhere and from the internet. And we'll be back next week. I don't have anything to add.
Go Alta.
Go Alta. Yeah. Gonna set some sort of weird drinking record this weekend. So let's do this.